On this episode with the Motor Spirit EG6, we're going to fit the FCS Race Fuel Cell, and I'm sure everything's going to go just fine. Yeah, so we're going to get this fuel cell fitted up today. I'm quite excited about this. It should be a pretty interesting little project. I've got all the fittings, I've got the fuel tank, I've got the fuel pump. Need to work out the wiring. But first of all, let's get the car on the ramps and get the old tank off. Alright, so we've got the car on the ramps. Before we do anything, before I put it up in the air, we're just going to disconnect all the lines inside the car, and then we can take it up and we'll drain the fuel out and hopefully get the tank off. This is why I want one of them electric ratchets for Christmas. Loads better. We've got two connectors in here for the fuel pump and for the fuel level sender, and then a 17 or 19mm bolt, and then just a push on rubber hose. So we'll get them off now. 17, it'll probably spurt a bit of fuel out, but it doesn't really matter. Sweet. Alright, so we're up in the air, and obviously there's the fuel tank. Now we've got a few things we need to take off before we can take the main straps off the car. So we've got a breather valve there, one-way breather valve, and then you've got up in here, if you can see that, I'll give you some light, you've got the filler and the filler breather. So we'll disconnect them and then we can pull the tank down. Okay, so I've taken the breather valve off. I can't get to the filler pipe yet, so we're going to take the straps off, and then we can lower the tank down a little bit, and I'll be able to take the breather off. And that'll pretty much be it. So these bolts, as you can see, mine are corroded pretty bad, but they can corrode so bad that these will eventually snap, and then you'll pretty much lose the fuel tank. There's a video of that on YouTube of Danny DC2 losing his fuel tank at the Nürburgring, so have a look at that, it's good fun. So just be aware of that if you ever do look under here. It's something that might need changing, but hopefully I'll never need these straps again, so let's get them off. On the rattle gun. Yeah, good mate. Yeah, I'm good, mate. Beautiful, mate. Let's take it over there. Right, so that's the tank out, a pretty easy operation as you can see. So this is all the pipe work that we're going to need to amend to fit the car. So we've got the actual feed pipe itself, the return line, and then a breather. Yeah, so I've got some fittings to basically cut these here, or maybe a bit, probably up here, convert them to an AN fitting, and then we can get it all connected. Okay, so fast forward about 2 weeks. Is it 2 weeks? No, roughly? Roughly 2 weeks since you last see me here. Although with the magic of editing, this has just happened. But I basically bought the wrong fittings completely, and also forgot a load of fittings. So I've now ordered the fittings, and hopefully we can crack on. So we're now going to convert these hard pipes into a dash type fitting, hopefully. And continue with the install. So this is one of the AM fittings. This is going to convert my 10mm fuel pipe to a dash 8 fitting, and it's made up of 3 parts. You've got whatever that bit's called, a little brass olive, and then the sort of socket at the end that compresses it all together. So what I need to do is cut the pipe off nice and square, remove this sort of protective covering on it, clean up the end, and then we can put it all together and hopefully have a nice clean fitting. I've just noticed a bit of corrosion up this end, which I'm going to stay away from, so I'll probably cut it at this joint here and try and work from there, really. Oh, sorry, mate. Oh, sexy. Okay guys, hopefully you can see okay. So I've just used a pipe cutter to take the end of the pipe off, so that's giving us a nice square cut. I should probably point out, do not use any kind of abrasive cutting disc on this, it will set off sparks for fucking obvious reasons. It's pure pissing out everywhere. But that's a nice smooth cut with no sharp edges on it now, ready for the fitting. So as I said before, all you do is slip on the... Just come. So yeah, all you do is slip on the end of the fitting. I believe that's called the compression bit. I don't know, who knows. Then you've got the little brass olive, and that just slips over, and it looks like this is going to be a little bit tight. Yeah, so I'm just going to get a bit of sanding paper and just sand that down a touch, just so we've got a nice tight fitting on there.
Where is the sand dot? What is this?
Finally, we've got this sanded back far enough, so we'll try third time lucky. Put the olive on. That's nice. And then the fitting, as I said, you've got the machine lip, make sure that bottoms out. So that's bottomed out, and then wind up the back part, get it hand tight, nice and snug. And then you want to go one full turn on the compression, on the fitting, or at least until it feels nice and snug, is what YouTube tells me. We'll do it in quarters. 1, 2, 3. I reckon 3/4 is enough on that. We'll soon find out if it leaks, but that's one done. Alright guys, that is the fittings done for converting both the hard pipes to a, I don't know what you call it, a flexible fitting, whatever you want to call it. This one was tight with the olive, but it just took a little bit of sanding, just took all the paint off, just took a hair out of it, and it's a perfect tight fit now. So they're both decent fits on there, and we shouldn't have any issues. I might have to tighten them up a bit, but otherwise they're good to go. So now we'll fit up the tank and just work out where I want to put things, especially the fuel pump, which we're looking at bashing up here. But yeah, we'll see how we go and start piecing it together. Right, so we're having a bit of issue with the actual fitting of the tank, the way it fits in. There's plenty of space, obviously. It's just the straps that have been provided don't seem to fit anywhere in here. And I'll show you in a minute, but just for now, all I'm going to do is lop off these seatbelt mounts. Obviously, we don't need them anymore, and they could just be getting in the way a bit from letting the tank sit fully up against the body of the car. So I'm going to lop them off, and then we'll put some foam in just to protect the tank, and then we'll work out where these straps are going to go. But yeah, keep cracking on. Right, so we've got the tank exactly where we need it now, nice and central. Now these straps, they don't seem to reach up to the body of the car where we need them to go. So I've just made a 90-degree bracket that extends down from the body, and then with this strap, we'll come in behind. It's a bit tight. Tight's good. Yeah. So about there, and we've got the foam in place, so we've extended that down so it can meet the strap, and what we'll do is bolt them together now, but now we've got the foam in and everything, so we can see the height that we want. So I'll square the strap up at the back, square it up on that bracket, and then mark it, and then we'll make them two pieces become one. Okay, so we've extended the straps, as you can see there, pretty crude, but it does the job. And obviously bolted up through the floor of the car, and then I've riv nutted the rear subframe with an M6 riv nut, and that's going to hold in the rear of the strap. Hopefully that'll be strong enough, because I don't want the tank to fall out. So let's put the tank in again. We've had the tank in and out about 20 times so far, and probably about 20 times more, but now we can put the tank up and we can start plumbing up the lines. So let's get the tank in. Alright, the next thing we want to get mounted up is the fuel pump. So we've got a Bosch 044 type pump, just a basic eBay clamp, and we're going to work out where we want to mount it, and it's going to go somewhere, I reckon, over here, and probably something just like that, I'd imagine, nice and tucked up out the way. Alright guys, that's the fuel pump mounted. So all we're going to do now is run make the line the feed line. So we'll have a line coming up here. It's got a 120 degree sort of U-turn fitting. We'll come under here straight up to the inlet on the fuel pump, get my words out, and then again we'll make another -6 line out of the end of the fuel pump into the feed pipe, and then that will just go straight down into the engine. And then on the return line we'll come around the outside of the pump up to the return fitting at the top of the tank, and that'll be it pretty much plumbed for feeding it fuel. Then we just need to do the breather, which I'll run down into the sort of breather on the filler neck, and then the filler pipe itself. And I dare say we should be good from there. Yeah, the only thing that's a bit weird is that the fuel filler pipe sits lower than the pipe on the tank. I'm not too sure what kind of issue that's going to cause with actually filling the tank up. What I might do, looking at this now, is cut the pipe up here and get a bit of silicone pipe that I can just run straight into there. But we'll see how we get on. Alright guys, so obviously we've got the tank and the fuel pump mounted up, so now we can start plumbing up all the lines. So I'll just go through how we make braided hose with the fittings. So obviously you get the length that you want. Good idea is to take off the fitting, take off the end, and to sort of get your measurements, I generally will take off the end and just keep that bit on to the spot where you want it, and then measure it up to that point there, and it generally will give you about 10 mil extra to what you need, but it's just enough to play with. So yeah, get your measurement, tape it up with either duct tape or masking tape, can also work well, and then we'll cut that. The best cutter I believe are a set of big sort of pipe snips, but I haven't got any of them, so I'm just going to use an angle grinder. It does it okay. The idea is to keep the fray the metal braid as tidy as possible. So let's cut through it and get this pipe made. Cue music.
Safety first. Bum, 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 bum.
Once you cut your pipe, it's going to be full of rubber shit after you've cut it with a thing. So if you cut it with snips, you won't get all the rubber residue, but with an angle grinder you do. So make sure you clear all that out, because the last thing you want is all that rubber clogging up your fuel filter. So I'll give it a scrape out of all the big lumps, and then I'll give it a good blow through and waste a load of brake clean on the floor. Okay guys, once you've got your hose cut and cleaned, you want to put it into the fitting. Now ideally you want to get a proper set of hexagonal clamps that will clamp this fitting nice and tight. If like me you're a bit of pikey and you haven't got that, I'm just going to use my vise and a bit of cloth. Clamp it snug, not overly tight, because you do want to warp this fitting. So the next stage is to get this fitting inside there without any of the braid fraying back. These newer style fittings aren't too bad, you just got to twist it in. I'll always put a bit of WD-40 on there just to lube it up and help it get its inserted length in there. So I generally just twist a touch, but you can see already it's trying to push back. That's what she said. So I'm just going to help the frayed bits in there with a very fine ended screwdriver, flathead. Try and keep all the frayed ends pointing forward. And then once you're in, you just twist and push all the way in. Now a lot of people don't keep the tape on there. I keep it on there because if you don't, it's an absolute nightmare to try and get it in with the frayed ends. And just push nice and hard and twist all the way. I think we might be there. Now you're not going to see that, but what you're looking for within the pipe, down inside the pipe, is you can see the rubber hose has come all the way up to the start of the thread inside the fitting. And let's look in the light, I've got a little bit further to go, so I'll try and get there in a few more mil if I can. Well, it does feel like it's bottomed out, to be honest. So the next bit you'll get is obviously the opposite end, and this bit will obviously slip inside the pipe and thread its way into it, and also it will thread into the inside of the other end of the fitting there. So again, I'll get that on the clamp. I can go a little bit tight here because it's a solid hexagonal fitting. on the bit that I'm clamping at least. Again, a bit of WD-40 just to start it off. Now what can happen is this can tend to push the pipe back out of the fitting, so what I will always do as well is just mark the end, and you've got a reference there, so you see if that starts pushing back out, then you know you're going wrong. And I'll just start to work it on by hand. I'll get the thread engaged, and when I can feel it starting to come up against the pipe, I'll twist and push with the pipe instead of the fitting. So it's just starting to go into the pipe now. Okay, so I can't twist any more there. And that's it, so you want to make sure that's butted up nicely against the other side of the fitting, but otherwise that's us in. If you want, with the tape, you can cut that bit of tape off, just get a Stanley, run it around and take it off. I'm going to do that because I'm posh. But yeah, that's how you put the fittings together. There's loads and loads of guides on YouTube, much better than what I just did on how to do that. So I'm going to get all the lines put together, and then I'll give you an update once they're all done and plumbed in on the car, and we'll see how it looks. Ooh, okay, we are done with the plumbing of the fuel tank. We've still got to do the wiring for the fuel pump and for the fuel level sender, but otherwise we've got the plumbing work pretty much there. So obviously out of the back of the tank we're just using one of the feed lines, so we've just got a blanked off cap there, round into the pump and then down back onto the original pipe into the front of the car, and then back through the return line up to the top of the tank. And then at the top, I've had to kind of bodge this for the time being, but we've basically got an old bit of radiator pipe, which I'm going to replace with some proper fuel hose soon. More so because I don't want any fucking red pipe under here, but you know. And then the breather is just going back up into the sort of breather pipe that goes up on the filler. And that's it. So I'm going to call it quits for today. So we'll make this into an episode, and then I'll do part 2, which will be the wiring and testing of the car. Which hopefully I can get done tomorrow. Okay guys, that's us done for this part of the fuel tank install, so hopefully tomorrow I'll get down and we'll get the wiring done and the fuel sender, and hopefully get a test drive, and fingers crossed no leaks. Yeah, that's been quite a big task actually. I've been here I think about 7 hours now, cracking away at it. I've had my mate helping me out, which is always good. Yeah, so hope you enjoyed that. Look forward to the next episode, which will be the finalisation of the fuel tank and getting it tested. Yeah, thanks for watching guys. If you're new to the channel, please give us a like and a subscribe. Check us out on Facebook for Motor Spirit, and I'll see you next time. Cheers guys, bye.